and you became a person, a beneficiary, a contractee of that corporate structure in exchange for food stamps, Medicare, Medicaid, free cheese, and a lot of other so-called benefits, all right? I'm sure you can all get along without it. Because you have the availability to receive benefits, you have the liability to pay the premiums. Our contention is we don't want to argue with the tax system. We don't want to argue about the 16th Amendment. We don't want to argue with any of that. However, the Internal Revenue Code is like this glass. That's internal. Everything else is external. You can scope your affairs so that all of your affairs are external to the Internal Revenue Code. Clean up your record administratively, extract yourself from all their database, cease being a person in their life, cease being a persona in their structure, and you have no liabilities because you have no access to benefits. Okay, let's go back to here. So we've got a foundation that owns an IBC that can do anything. Now, you ever seen Star Trek three-dimensional chess? You got a chessboard, it's 3 steps. Here's the statutory board where the United States plays. Here's the common law board where we can play. And here's the foreign board, off in another jurisdiction. They can play here. They can't play here. So what we're going to do is we're going to, everybody know what castling is? Okay, it's a kind of a chess move where you can castle. We're going to castle on the top board, move stuff to the other 2 boards, and only risk what we're ready to walk away from on the upper board. Notice it says onshore jurisdiction or statutory interface. What we do is we set up 2 common law trusts, Trust A and Trust B. Article 1, Section 10 of the United States Constitution, that the government can make no laws impairing the obligation of contract. You guys have the capacity, unlimited, unalienable capacity to contract. I'm not talking here from my words, I'm talking from the Supreme Court. You cannot be restricted in your right to contract so long as you don't contract to do anything illegal. Your unalienable right to life is that capacity to create the value, exchange it in the marketplace, and keep the fruits of your own labor to yourself. Okay, so Trust A and Trust B are common law contracts under Article 1, Section 10. They're private contracts. You find 2 friends. They become your trustees. Those 2 trusts set up an LLC, and they are the partners that own the LLC. Okay, now the LLC is in Nevada. Why Nevada? Well, Nevada is very hostile to the United States government. A Nevada LLC having no federal standing has no federal reporting requirements. So Trust A and Trust B are partners, equal partners. They set up the LLC or multiple LLCs to do statutory interface. What does that mean? Can't go into debt without a government ID or debtor's number. Remember, your Social Security number is a debtor's ID number. Everybody knows there's a national debt. Everybody knows somebody's got to pay it, but nobody knows who. Ladies and gentlemen, if you carry a Social Security number, you use it on your affairs, you are admitting to that debt, you owe it. What we do here is rather than use your debtor's ID number and getting you further in the hole, we get a statutory interface for Nevada LLC, and it has an EIN, or Employer Identification Number, that can be used on debt so that you don't have to show up. Trust A, Trust B hire the property management company, so the IBC gets hired to manage the LLC. Guess who the IBC sends? You. So you look at your spouse and you say, you know, it's not really a good idea that we be involved in property ownership anymore. It's too risky. It's lienable, it's leviable, it's seizable, and we should probably just take our money and get it out of the house. So you and your friends sell the house to the LLC. Then you turn around and you craft a lease where you can rent it back. And it's a great company. All the rent and utilities are included. With the help of a couple of friends you hire as attorney for a few minutes. They set up all the utilities in the name of the company. At the end of the month, you walk into your office and say, hi, I'm here to pay the rent. You count the money out on the table. You run around the table. You pick it up and say, thank you very much. Issue a receipt. Remember, you're going to actually do this. You're going to issue a receipt in the name of the company, deposit the money in the company's bank account, pay the mortgage, pay the utilities, and anything that's left over has to be distributed. Where's it going to go? Somebody? The foundation. See, Trust A and Trust B are actually 50% owners of the LLC. That precipitates a partnership or pass-through for tax purposes. Remember we talked about the split between equitable and legal ownership? The LLC has legal ownership. The 2 trusts have equitable ownership. Anything that flows to the 2 trusts, they have legal ownership, but not equitable ownership because it goes to the foundation. So the manager of the LLC, calls up the two trustees and says, we got some money, where do you want it? They say, oh, here's the wire instructions, we want to send it to here. You send it right to the foundation, issue receipts to the two trusts, and everything is legal that way.
Let me tell you about myself first. I've been doing this now for 10 years, going around the country teaching people a class that's a week long. There's about 6 classes, actually. And the basic class is a week long. And I talk about all the topics we talked about today. Everyone here so far that I've heard today is an expert. I'm very impressed. Over the years, I've been in this Patriot movement for over 20 years. I know everybody in it. As a lawyer and a law professor, I figure if I'm going to do that, I got to find out what the law is. Now, as a lawyer in law school, I wasn't taught law. No lawyer is. We have some more lawyers in the room here. They'll confirm that they weren't taught law. They were taught equity, admiralty law, statutory law, but not common law. Maybe we had a lecture on it for maybe an hour. So when I finished law school, I realized I didn't know anything. How many people here are U.S. citizens? See your hands. You have my profound sympathy. Number one, you're not a U.S. citizen. They want you to believe that you are. There are 2 United States. If you look at Black's Law Dictionary, 6th or 5th or 4th edition, you look up United States. It'll tell you there are 3 definitions. And that was Whom v. Evatt, the case of Whom v. Evatt, where the courts said very clearly there are 3 distinct United States. The United States is a corporate entity of legal fiction that was created by the Constitution to represent us in foreign affairs. And it, like the Declaration of Independence, very clearly spells out who we are. It says United States of America, but it's with the lowercase u. That's an adjective describing a noun. Right now, you see all the capital letters. That's a legal fiction. That's not what you signed up for. And so when you understand the Constitution, then how many people have read the Constitution here? Oh, I'm surprised. I'm glad you have. How many have read your state constitutions? That's for average. There's 2, 3 out of 65 people. But your rights are contained in your state constitutions, not in the federal. The federal doesn't give you any rights. It merely restricts conduct of government. It prohibits them from doing certain things. And that's all it does. Your state rights are contained, your states is where you look for your rights at. But there are certain rights that are guaranteed by God as unalienable. And the fact remains is those are God-given, not man's. And man cannot intrude in those at all. The right to contract is one of the rights that is in our Constitution. It's that they can make no law impairing the obligation of contracts. No law. So you look at the prohibitions of the government has about our law, our rights, and we sit back and let them do it all the time. How many people have a Social Security card, signed up for Social Security? It's almost everybody, right? That's a contract. When you have a contract with them, that means that they have jurisdiction over your person. How many people have bank accounts here? Checking accounts? Home mortgages? Okay, that's almost everybody, right? Well, they have a contract over you. They have in personam jurisdiction if you have a contract in any banking relationship. If you look at the case that's Elmira v. Davis, 1864, it's the Supreme Court said that the federal banking systems are instrumentalities of Congress. And right now, the Federal Reserve System is functioning only because of one reason, the War Powers Act of 1933. In 1933, they put the Banking Holiday Act in 1933. And look at Black's Dictionary, you'll see it there. And it says that no bank may operate or open its doors, not even for a moment, unless 2 conditions are met. One, the President has declared a national emergency, and they're in direct regulatory control of the Secretary of Treasury. Those 2 things must be in place or they can't open the doors. It would be treason to do so, because our Constitution tells us our gold and silver coin are our only legitimate constitutional currency. So under doctrine of necessity in the War Powers Act, they can do those things they could not do otherwise. So we've been in a state of national emergency since 1933, and really since 1861. But since 1933 officially, and we will continue for that forever, because we will never get out of it. They will never get rid of the Federal Reserve System. I talk about taxes a lot in my class, because that's the same unifying thread we all have to bear. Right now, the IRS